welcome to the Fiber Tales podcast. My name is Lærke, and this is a podcast about knitting, about knitwear design, and about my life here on a small island in Denmark. I live here with my partner and our two small children. And if you've been following for a while, you know all this, but I always like to introduce myself in case you're new, and if you're new, welcome back. And if you've been here for a while, I want to start out by saying Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I know it is a bit late to say at the end of January, but I haven't been filming since before Christmas, so I just wanted to wish you all a Happy New Year and hope you have had a good start to the year. So here it's been, we had a wonderful Christmas. It was very nice, spent with my family, so we just stayed here. Sometimes we go to Poland, where my partner's family is from, but this year we stayed in Denmark and spent the Christmas with my parents and my siblings when they came. We have a little bit larger family, so everyone will come when it fits in, and we all saw each other. And then there were a lot of birthdays. My little boy turned 4, so he's no longer a little baby. He's getting so big. He's still a small boy and he still loves his cuddles and so on, but he's getting big. And then work-wise, January has been a little bit of a harder month for me because I also work as a photographer, and January is very slow, and I really thrive when I have a mix of my work, so I can go out and shoot pictures and I can also do knitwear. But I've been trying to focus on knitwear design and working on some new designs because I have a lot of time for that now. But I still feel like I miss a little bit coming out, but the days are really short and cold right now. So yeah, that's just the way it is. So I try to focus on the nice parts. I try to focus on making things really cozy and friendly, and I got myself some new yarn, and I've been swatching a lot to work on new ideas. Not everything has been working out the way I wanted, so that can also be a little bit frustrating when you have an idea or you feel like you know what you want to make, but it's just not working out. I'm just looking at myself and I see the sun is hitting my face a little bit. I hope you can see me okay. But today is one of the really rare sunny days we have had here in January, and I just really want to enjoy the sun, so I didn't want to go and sit in a darker corner. So I hope you're okay with the sunspots, but they feel really nice, and it actually feels warm for once in the living room and not a little bit chilly. And what else? We have been also starting to pack up the house. We are moving in 3 months, so it's a little bit difficult because you cannot pack down everything, but we've been trying to be really good and go through all our packages, all our stuff and pack it down. I don't know where packages came from. Anyways, to go through all of our stuff, pack it down, sort through it, throw out a lot of stuff or give it away. I had a lot of papers from university, notes and things like that honestly I like to save some things just for if it has value to me, but old notes, I'm never gonna look at them again, and yeah, they just had to go. So we've been doing a lot of those kind of things, and I have released a new pattern. I did that just after I finished the last episode, so it has been released. It's the Glerups, and I think that's what I'm gonna start talking about. I'm just looking at my notes to see if I missed anything, but I think I've updated you a bit on what has been happening since the last time. So this is my latest pattern, and this is the Glerups. Let's see if it will focus on the hat. Yeah, and it has this very simple but I think very effective and very beautiful leaf pattern. Some of them are a bit longer, so they alternate between a longer leaf or seedling, as someone wrote me, and I really love the word seedling, so now I might call them little seedlings. But gro means grow in Danish, and it's a pattern I used on other designs, and I think it's really fitting for a hat that you can use into spring, and And even when I wore it over Christmas, it reminded me of little Christmas trees. So this one is knit in a Spanish yarn that is a Spanish merino from Wool Dreamers called... Why did I blank on the name? I've been saying it so many times. It's the... Anyways, I will put it in the show notes. It will come to me in a moment, but it's a really beautiful rustic yarn. And let me try the head on. So you can see this is a quite fitted head. Mine has already stretched out a little bit, so it's not so tight as it was in the beginning. And I decided to keep it shaped fairly... It has the same shape as the head. Oh, my words just disappeared out the window. It is very cozy and very warm because of the wool, but also it's knit on a little bit of a tighter gauge just to keep the fabric more sturdy. So I wanted to talk about a few things that I got some questions about how to modify the size, because this is a one size pattern and I decided to keep it one size because of I don't want to mess with the stitch pattern. So if I removed one of the leaves, you could do that, and if you want to make it smaller or add in a repeat of the chart, but then you would have to, they alternate and you wouldn't have the alternating leaves. So since this is not an option if you want to keep the pattern looking nice, then the other option for changing the size is to go up or down a needle size, or half a needle size. So I would go up or down. This one is knit on 3.5. Wow. It's really weird because I work on a pattern for so long, and then once it's done I kind of forget the details. It's knit on either 3.5 or 4 millimeters, I can't remember right now, but I would go up to, if it's 4, then I would go up to 4.5, and the same way you could go down to 3.5, and that way you can adjust the size a bit. So one thing that might happen is when you adjust the size, you might have to add length to the pattern or shorten it depending on how it turns out. I would say with this pattern it's not so bad if it grows a little bit in length, but it would be a problem if it gets too short. So there are a few places you could add in some rows, and one of the places, if I fold down the brim, you can see I decided to knit the brim with ribbing up until this is where you are supposed to fold it. So you're supposed to fold it so the fold lies just under where the little seedlings begin. But I didn't continue the ribbing, just because it's not necessary, you're not going to see it, and working, it's much easier to knit in stockinette, I find. But you could of course just continue it, and you could add in a few rows here, for example, to make the brim longer. Also, if you prefer longer brim, you can just do that. Add a few rows of ribbing, for example. And the same, there's another place where I would suggest modifications. So after you finish this last one, you could add, there are a few rows without any decreases or pattern, and you can just either skip those if you want it shorter, or add in more rows if you want it longer. So those are the places that I would suggest that you could do some modifications. And yeah, I think those were the things I wanted to comment on about this pattern. I have to say it has been a little bit crazy. I have never experienced a pattern doing so well. It has been probably my best-selling pattern so far, and I was really happy with the pattern, and I thought it might do well, but I didn't expect this, so I'm extremely humbled and happy. It was just the best Christmas present, I have to say. I just realized, because I released it before Christmas, a week before something, and I just realized that it was selling much better than I'm used to, and it just made, it was like a little present for me, because when you make a pattern you never know how they're gonna perform, and I make the patterns I want to make. I try not to think about too much about what will sell and what will be popular. And I think I talked about this on the podcast before, that, for example, working on a sweater design with a lot of grading and a lot of testing, and it's so many hours you put into it, and they're not always the best performing patterns, in the sense they're not the ones that sell the best, whereas shawls and socks sometimes sell better. And I haven't released a hat since, actually my very first pattern was a hat. But that was my very first pattern, and a lot of things has happened since. And I haven't released a hat since, so I had no idea if it would do well or not, and how people like hats. But I think it is the perfect little Christmas present knit. It just takes 1 skein of DK weight. I recommend a plump DK weight, or if you're using something a bit more sleek, go for a worsted. But it just, it was definitely a surprise, and just made, all the work I put into making patterns, and sometimes when they don't do so well, it just makes it worth it, right? Because then it makes up for everything. So definitely a huge thank you to everyone who purchased the pattern and helped support my little business. And so this is the Gro hat, and since I already talked about it, I think I talked about it enough. Then I've been swatching, as I said. I cast on a few new things, but swatches don't always go as you plan. I've been a little annoyed with some swatches that they didn't work out quite as I wanted. Just taking a sip. So, but that's the way it is, and I have for a long time been thinking about, I wanted to try to knit something really fine and delicate. And so I thought for something delicate I would try to get some cashmere. I'm talking Danish. Cashmere. Now this is not very much, so it might be hard to see. This is what is left of the project that I'm working on. But I have another skein. Did I bring it? Yes, I brought it. So I got two little balls of Knitting For Olive. It's a recycled cashmere, and I always loved compatible cashmere. I'm actually not sure if it's recycled. I remember something about it, but it's I really love Knitting For Olive. Has beautiful colors, but they also have great standards for animal welfare and for the way they produce the yarn. So I always know I can look to them for good yarn. And so I got this one that is Rosa Leer, and then I got the other one, that's the one I'm working with right now, that's called Nordic Beach. This is this one. And I'm working on a little design that doesn't look very great because it kind of keeps rolling up on itself. I just wanted to make like a little, like a small scarf, or what do you call it, a kerchief, like the one, just a little one that you can wear very close to the neck. And I wanted it to be very soft and delicate. So I'm working it with this little eyelet pattern, and it's just been really interesting to work on a very fine yarn and very small needles. So this is a lace weight yarn, and I'm using 2mm needles, so I had to go and get some 2mm needles because I didn't have such small needles. At least I think I had a pair, but they were not very good, so I went to buy a new pair of needles. And yeah, I'm still really excited to see it blocked because as I said, it keeps rolling up on itself. I need to work on a little border for the shawl, and I hope I have enough yarn. As you can see, I have very little left, but since it's very thin, it also, you get a lot from a little ball, but I might have to get a second one. This color, and this is one thing I find a little bit hard when you buy colors online, is it looked very neutral, and it is neutral, but in some lights, and let's see if you can see it maybe here, in some lights it tends to, like right now if I look at it in my hand, it looks like a sand color, but sometimes it gets this bluish gray color to it. So it has a blue undertone, I'm pretty sure, and it is not my favorite. It's a beautiful yarn, but the color, I would have wished something less blue, with less blue undertone. And that's the thing you cannot see when you buy yarn online. And it's so frustrating. But I also have the Rosalia and that I worked with before this colorway on my Favo sweater. That at that time I used it in a mohair, in the mohair. So I held it together with that, and this color I knew I liked, so it was more of a safe choice. I'm thinking about this little pattern. I have an idea that maybe I will try to knit it up also in a different gauge and make a big shawl, and that way it's actually a pattern that you can use with many different weights of yarn and at many different gauges. So I thought that could be a fun thing to do, and I was a little bit afraid working with such a small needle and such a thin yarn that it would take forever, but it hasn't felt like that. It felt pretty like normal. The only thing I had to adjust a little bit is the tension. So when I work with a very thin strand of yarn, I find it a little harder to tension the way I hold the yarn. For some reason when I knit socks it's not so hard, but I think when I knit socks I have it on the small circular, so it's more in my hands, and with this one it was just a bit difficult. The needles I got are bamboo needles, and you cannot see anything. Okay, there we go. They're bamboo needles, and they have this they roll on the cable. And I went into a local yarn shop and just asked if they had anything, and she recommended these. I got bamboo because my partner has a little bit of a thing with the sound of metal needles, so I'm trying to not be too clicky when I sit and knit at night, because he doesn't like the sound. But bamboo needles definitely make less of a sound. The only issue I found with these needles, and I cannot remember the name, I will put it somewhere, I think it was a Japanese brand. I will try to see if I can find the bag and put it somewhere. The only issue I have is the cable was very twisted. Yeah, you can see when I let go of it, it kind of still twists a bit. And I don't know, I think I saw something about that you can put them in warm water and straighten them out. I just went straight to knitting, so I haven't done it, but it's a bit annoying. So, and they haven't straightened out yet, even if I use them for some weeks. So I'm really hoping that I have to see if I can find a tutorial for how to do it, and because it is quite annoying when the cable keeps forming, like wanting to go back into the how it was packaged. So that's a little pattern. I don't have any name for it. I'm not quite done with it yet, but I just thought to share it anyways. Very simple with the little eyelets, but I thought it would be very nice for something to wear close to the neck when you're inside the house and just want to wear something warm. So that has been my knitting. Oh, and I knit another cool hat for my mom for Christmas. It just took a couple of days, so it's a really great pattern for that it's so quick to make, and it was actually really nice to follow my own instructions and see that they were good. They didn't have any issues, and I gifted that to her, and she's been really happy with it, so I cannot show you, but that has been my knits so far, apart from a bunch of swatching that I tend to unravel my swatches once I'm done with them. So I'm not done with them. If they don't work out, I just unravel and start over with the same yarn. I don't make a million swatches. I find that such a waste, even if it's for work and I could do it that way. So I've been just redoing the same swatch over and over with a little bit different things, and I'm still not there. So I hope this idea that I have can work out, but I will show you more if it does, and if it doesn't, then that's the way it is. Then I want to mention that I have a shop update with the last bit of the yarn I sold yarn in November, I think. And this is the yarn I have spun. If you haven't seen it before, this is the yarn I have spun from my parents' Gotland sheep. So it's a nice dark gray, a little bit of a mild effect. So it has little lighter specks and darker specks with a bit of a charcoal undertone. And this yarn I had spun, and I sold the first half of the batch in November, and now the second half of the batch is coming up for sale on the 12th on February 12th. That's the plan. And I have to count, but I think it's about half. So and make the shop ready for the update. It will be the same time as usual, so at around 8:30 in the evening Central European time. So I don't know what that is in all the time zones, but once it's ready, it will say so in my Etsy shop. Excuse me, and the Etsy shop I will link below, and I will also make sure I post it on my Instagram, where I'm most active and always update all the things. So yeah, it's gonna be the last bit of yarn I have until the fall. I went to the mill that is local, very close to where my parents live. I went there and dropped off the yarn from this year, or the fleece from this year, to have it spun into yarn for the next, so for fall. And I talked to the spinner, and we agreed on what to make. So this time I made a fingering weight, and it has been fun trying something different. But for the next batch, I'm going back to a DK weight. I had that before, so the previous shop update before the one in November, but the one earlier was also with a DK weight. And the DK weight will be 100% local wool, so they mix in their own wool from their sheep that are also grassing on this island. And yeah, I'm just really happy to make the wool local, that everything is produced here on the island and everything is organic as well. So I'm going back to the DK weight. It wasn't possible for this one. This one has a bit of Falkland merino blend in, has to do with the thickness and so on. But yeah, the next batch will be in the fall. So if you want to get your hands on some of this very beautiful dark gray Gotland and Falkland merino mix, so it's a 75-25 mix, and you want to get a fingering, this is the last time I will have this yarn, I think, at least for the next year. So it's the last chance you have. And I talked more about the yarn, I think, in a few episodes back, so go back if you want to hear me talk more about the properties and so on. I also want to talk about one more thing that I got from a friend before Christmas, and so I'm also involved in this project, but in a little bit of a different way. So I have a very good friend and colleague who is a crochet designer. You might know her. She's called Air Crochet on Instagram and as a designer, and her name is Jeanette. And she released a book recently that is the Hæklede strømper. This one is in Danish, so it means crocheted socks. I don't know if that's exactly the title in English, but I know she has the book also in English. And this book is, she's been working on this for quite some time, and she asked me if I would help her take some pictures. So this summer, I think it was in August, on a 30-something degree day, so that's really hot for Denmark, and it was a very warm day. We went out and took photos for the book. So not all of the pictures are mine, but this is Jeanette, and this is a picture I took of her on the 30-degree day, and she was wearing a woolly jumper. It was a Lærke jumper. I don't know how she didn't die. We were very hot afterwards, and actually we went for a swim, so it was really great. I'm just gonna flip through it and see if I can show you a few pictures. So we just took a lot of pictures of socks, and we had a lot of fun, and she gave me a copy of the book as a thank you. I think there might even be a picture of my feet in here. So let me see if I can find it. It might not be here. I don't know where it is, but we had a lot of fun. She was mainly the model and I was taking the pictures, but we did switch around. And it was interesting for me because normally I take pictures of my own designs by myself, so I use a tripod and then I just do, I just want to show you, she has some beautiful, oops, something fell out, beautiful details. This one has some herringbone stitch and they're all crocheted, so, but often will look a bit like knitting, so it's really great. What was I saying before? I got sidetracked. I normally take the pictures myself with my camera and I just put it on interval timer and it shoots a lot of pictures and I run around and do crazy stuff. But actually the only thing I found really hard to take pictures of are feet, my own feet. So whenever I had a sock design, I really struggled to get some good pictures. So it was a lot of fun helping her and making sure she had a nice book. And if you like to crochet, I can definitely recommend her patterns. She's a very good designer. So a little shout out to Jeanette, and I just wanted to show you the book because it turned out beautiful and it always makes me want to write a book or make a book myself. But I also watched her during the process and it's a lot of work, and unfortunately right now, from the way things are, it has become really expensive to print books. So it's definitely something I am a little, I like to dream about it, but I don't know if that would be a reality. But I have a very, very nice idea of a book I would love to make. Maybe someday I will have time for, I will have be in the right place to do that. But yeah, it's just something different to have a book and have it in your hands. By the way, I got this mug at a Christmas market. It's from a shop called the Mug Shop, I think. And it is, I'm having a bit of mint tea, so I thought I wanted something a bit fresh, mint tea with honey today. I think that's everything. Oh, I have another recommendation that I got over Christmas. So I'm gonna show you my slippers, and I hope they don't look too dirty or anything because I wear them all the time. Since I got them at Christmas, I've been wearing them non-stop. These are the slippers from Glerups, and they are woolen, so they are felt slippers. I'm not going to show you the bottom because they get a little bit stained at the bottom, especially with kids and everything around, and sometimes they drop things on the floor and stuff. But they have a very nice suede bottom. You can also get them with I think natural rubber. But I love this, walking in these, and I've been really, really happy. Wow, my face is pretty much turning white. Anyways, I've been just loving them. I'm just gonna try to put it on and show you on the foot. So this is how they look on the foot, and they are like a big giant wool sock, and it's just been perfect. This house is old and the floors are cold, and I just been loving them so much. And they are a Danish shoe company or slipper company, and I got them at the Hæklede mill where I have my yarn spun. They have a small yarn shop as well, and they also sell their slippers. And I got mine in a forest green color. Actually, they were my Christmas present, so my parents got them, but then I had to go and change them because my parents gave me they have 3 different heights, and my parents got me the ones that go all the way down, but I didn't like them as my foot kept slipping out, and I didn't like that, so I got this one that has a bit of a heel. And you can also get a high version. So this was my Christmas present, and I just wanted to recommend them because they have been absolutely amazing, and they are so soft and cushiony and really, really nice. So I love to recommend things to you guys when I find some. Okay, my camera just ran out of no, it stops after a certain amount of time, so I had to restart it. But yes, that was the last bit that I wanted to talk about for today's episode. I hope you found some nice information. Oh, and I wanted to mention what I'm wearing because I always get questions about that, and I haven't worn this in a long time. Actually, I couldn't find it, and I found it when I was going through some stuff. It was just packed down with some yarn and some other knits that I probably thought I wasn't wearing it at some point. I'm wearing some overalls, but let me just take them down for a moment so you can see, and you can actually see it quite well with the sun. This is this pattern is an older pattern of mine called Skovmærker sweater, and it has this textured yoke with a little details all around, and I knit this in the Rosa Pomar, what is it called, Donegal tweed, I think, or soft Donegal, something like that. It's a Donegal yarn that she has, and it's beautiful foresty green with little specks. It's quite soft even if it's rustic. So it's a single ply tweedy yarn, and I don't know, maybe you can see it here. And this, I made this with the 3/4 length sleeves, so I like to just roll them up or bunch them up a little bit, and it's a really nice sweater for spring. Yeah, I was so happy I found it again when I was going through some yarn. So that is the last thing I wanted to talk about today. I'm thinking to record another episode after this one, where I talk a little bit about our plans for the new house. I am very much into the whole interior designing, planning for our new house, but I want to keep it separate, so this will be mainly about knitting. I still talk about my life and everything we're up to and stuff like that, but I thought it would be nice to create another series that's gonna be all about moving and getting our new house ready and decorating it and all that house stuff. So if you think that kind of stuff is interesting, I asked, I think last time, if you would be interested in watching it, and a lot of you said yes, but I still thought it would be nice to keep it separate. So I'm going to record another episode about our plans and show you some swatches of not yarn, of paint and so on. So feel free to join there, and also on Instagram. On Instagram I'm gonna mix it a bit more because my profile is, yes, a knitting profile, but I also share anything I love to share, all my creative processes. And so on Instagram I'm not gonna open a new account for the house and so on. I'm just gonna keep it all in one. But here I thought I could at least make a different series on the channel. So that's what I'm gonna do. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope to talk to you soon. At least I hope to record one more episode before we move, because once we get into the whole moving, I think we will be quite busy. And I also found out recently that there will be a yarn festival. I'm moving closer to a town called Fåborg, and they're gonna have a yarn festival, and it's gonna be exactly the weekend we're moving, and I'm so sad because I haven't been to festivals for a long time, and it actually sounds like they're putting up quite a nice festival there, and a lot of effort is going into it. But I'm not sure I can even come, even if I live like 5 minutes away. I live 10 minutes. I will live 10 minutes away once we move. But maybe if I have time, I might show up on the Sunday of the festival. So if you're going, and I might try to come there. But I am not making any promises because moving is probably gonna be super exhausting and crazy. And we have to get the kids, to feel good in the new house and so on. But if I have any energy left and a little bit of time, I might come on the Sunday. So that's it for today. I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye!